Hi guys, I'm back and today I'm going to talk about Amazon Web Services Storage S3 Basics. Now, as you can see, I'm mentioning it as lecture 1 because I'm not going to cover everything about S3, everything about storage infrastructure of AWS, precisely because as you've seen in my previous videos, I talk about things from the very core and for people who are laymen in this field. So I'll be starting with things in terms of Amazon Web Services, beginning with the simplest service and the most used service, without which probably you can do nothing in AWS. Uh, precisely, when we talk about AWS, what is that comes into your mind? In my previous videos, I have talked about what cloud is, what in generic terms are its benefits and its disadvantages. But to use cloud, you basically need to have a set of services enabled for generic users. So Amazon Web Services are nothing but a set of services provided by Amazon to support cloud, which would be highly available, fault tolerable, scalable, and elastic. Now, this architecture that you see here is the most simplified one that you're going to find on Amazon's website or on, the Google Images or anywhere that you search about AWS. This architecture is made showing you only the major services that are offered by Amazon, but that's not all Amazon Web Services is actually comprising of. Since we are just in the beginning of AWS, and I will take it slowly and gradually for everybody to grasp. So just understand that this is the basic architecture, and we are going to talk about these services in my lectures going forth. So today I am going to begin with Amazon S3, which is part of AWS storage architecture. Now, what is S3? S3 is simple storage service, and Amazon has on purpose given this name because it's a highly simplified form of storage, which is a part of Amazon infrastructure services. So, what is it? It is simply an online or cloud storage service that can be accessed from anywhere. So Amazon basically provides an elaborated definition to this, which is Amazon S3 has a simple web services interface that you can use to store and retrieve any amount of data at any time from anywhere on the web. It gives any developer access to the same highly scalable, reliable, fast, inexpensive data storage infrastructure that Amazon uses to run its own global network of websites. This service aims to maximize benefits of scale and to pass those benefits on to the developers. Yes, this is a bit complex, but you understand S3 as the basic terminology as I have explained in the first line. It's simply an online cloud storage service that can be accessed from anywhere. And it is Amazon's primary storage with almost unlimited storing capacity. Further, it is built in terms of S3 buckets, folders, objects, and things like this. Now, what is an S3 bucket? A bucket is nothing but a container of objects stored in Amazon S3. Every object is contained in a bucket. In simple terms, a bucket can also be referred to as the root level folder in S3 that contains everything. You can either put the object directly in your root level bucket, or you can create a subfolder inside your root folder, that is your bucket, and put your objects in that. So buckets on servers serve a lot of purpose basically. They organize Amazon S3 namespace at an outer level. So that's how your naming convention hierarchy is going to be if you want to access your data. Identity of the account responsible for storage and data transfer charges, and it basically plays the role in access control and serve as unit of aggregation. If the object is named, for example, as photos oblique bucket example dot jpeg and is stored in the bucket name as bucket demo. So now here, basically, you have your bucket demo as bucket name, photos as your subfolder inside the bucket, and bucket example as the object name. To access this, you can directly access it using the URL with your bucket name .s3 amazonaws.com oblique subfolder name oblique the object name. You can access buckets through URL, through REST, and a lot of other ways. But that's something that you go deep into, and when you start working on it, you get to know these things. Moving ahead, where are you going to make buckets? There has to be a certain region where you're going to make a bucket. But then what is a region? A region is basically a separate geographic area, and each AWS region has multiple isolated locations which are known as availability zones. Now, I have talked about region because this is to make sure that you remember the very most important point, that Amazon S3 bucket names are globally unique. So for example, in your account, if you're going to make a bucket name as example.jpg, that is not going to work. That is not going to work because example is a very common term, and somebody might have made it globally somewhere else. So that is not going to take any duplicates. It is important to understand that any data you upload to a particular bucket in a region will be physically stored in that region's data center. And hence, it is advisable to choose an AWS region that is geographically close to you to optimize latency, minimize cost, or address regulatory requirements. More important or advisable to choose an AWS region which is geographically near to your client if you are doing this for a particular client or to provide services to somebody else. Moving ahead, the maximum limitations of an S3 account are 100 buckets per account. You can have up to 5 TB per object and up to 5 GB per put. So, if you have data that is more than 5 GB, then there are methods in which you can divide the file into multiple parts and upload it. But that's again going too deep into things, and I don't want to confuse you at this point in time. So as an overview, just remember that these are the maximum limitations of any account. Now, understanding the S3 cost. Basically, AWS offers a free tier of 5 GB for S3, and it charges further if you use beyond that in the free tier. Costs that are charged are per GB in use for data that is in rest, and the costs are different for different regions. This is the most important point. So if you are going to access anything from say Sydney, that's not going to be same costing as it's in America. Other puts, gets, etc. charges can also be noted from Amazon's S3 cost webpage, because this is something that is too much in numbers and is not required at this point in time. Now, S3 majorly has 4 storage classes. Storage classes are basically the type in which the data type maybe, or the class type in which you would like to store your own data. So the most important one being standard. Then there is reduced redundancy storage, that is a bit less durable. Then there is one infrequent access storage, and there are glaciers for archival storage. Now you must be thinking, how do I choose which one I use? In my next slide, I'm going to talk about the characteristics of these classes, from which you will have an idea about which object or which kind of things should go where. Now, standard. Standard is designed for general all-purpose storage, and it's 99.11 times 9% durable. So you're not losing your data anytime soon. and availability is also 99.99%. It is most expensive but default storage class. Then comes the reduced redundancy storage class, which is also referred to as RRS in generic terms. It is designed for non-critical reproducible storage. Durability is 99.99%, availability is 99.99%, and comparatively it costs less. Coming to infrequently accessed, it is designed for objects that are not accessed often, but whenever you need them, they should be available immediately. They should not have any kind of latency when required. So it's again 99.11 times 9 times percent durable and has 99.90% availability. It is less expensive in comparison to standard and RRS storage class. And then comes Glacier. Glacier is basically your archival storage. It can take several hours for retrieval of your data. Though it is 99.999999% 11 nines durable, and it's very cheap, but the only backdrop of this is that it takes several hours for the retrieval of data. So you usually put your backups here, or data that you might not need for hours, or which will not be urgent if needed. So this was about a lot of basics of S3. This is something that is related to things that you should know when you talk about S3. And in my next lectures, I'm going to cover the storage life cycles, versioning in S3, permissions, events, and cross-origin resource sharing, which is also known as CORS, which is an important concept. And to contact me, to connect with me, you can drop me a mail at techgirl23591@gmail.com, and you can also like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, connect with me on Facebook page or on my Facebook page account, and I'm all in for your suggestions, your feedbacks. You can drop in mails to me referring me the topics that you would like me to discuss about infrastructure, IT, and if I'll have some knowledge on that, I'll definitely share it. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you for listening through, and do get back to me. I'll wait for your calls and connect.